Now, in the UK, to ride a motorcycle legally, you just need one piece of safety equipment, and that's a helmet. That's all you need. You don't need gloves, you don't need a jacket, you don't need armoured trousers, and you most definitely don't need a full suit of armour. You could ride the bike to Tesco wearing nothing but a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of flip-flops, and the police could do absolutely nothing about it. Now, from a personal standpoint, I think you look absolutely ridiculous doing that, and obviously that's just my opinion, but you are totally in your rights to do it. So if nobody's making us wear body armour, there's no laws or no penalties for not using the stuff and no legal obligation of any kind, how did so many of us end up wearing it? Padded shoulders, padded elbows, lumps of rubber pressed against our spine in our jackets. We've got armoured trousers now, boots, the whole kit and caboodle. Where did all of that come from? And more importantly, did anyone actually check whether it's working before we all just went along with it? I went looking for the answers, and I want to take you guys through what I found. Now, any good quality motorcycle jacket will have a label in it. It's going to be buried somewhere inside the internal lining, probably around the washing instructions that you very rarely check. I'm guilty of that myself. And it'll say something like CEA or AA, or even AAA if it's a high quality jacket. And it will also note that the armour that's built into that jacket is either CE level 1 or CE level 2 rated, and that label will be on the jacket from the day you buy it. That level 1 and level 2 certification exists because of something called the EN 1621 regulation. It's a European standard that governs impact protectors in motorcycle clothing. And while, yes, Brexit most definitely did happen, the UK still follows many of the EU's regulations, and, well, this is just one example of those. Under EN 1621, selling a motorcycle jacket without certified impact protection within it isn't just frowned upon, it is completely illegal. You cannot put a CE-rated jacket on the shop floor without armour in the shoulders, the elbows, and a minimum provision for a back protector. It's all written into the regulations. So with that information now in my mind, my question changed. It's not why do riders wear armour, it's why does this regulation require it to be sold in the first place? Who wrote those rules? And what were they actually trying to protect by creating those rules? Following that question garnered some, well, I'm going to say rather interesting results. Let's start with the people who were behind the legislation, the companies that helped shape EN 1621. Those are the ones that lobbied and requested help defining the thresholds. Well, they were predominantly the gear manufacturers themselves. Initially, you're probably all thinking, well, that's great. The companies that are selling us the armoured clothing, the companies that are putting out the garments in the first place, really do have our health and well-being at the heart of everything they do. If they were going to go out and legislate for rules and regulations that increase the cost of the items they were making. And they probably do have your best intentions at heart to an extent. But as this is YouTube and I'm here to try and entertain you, and we all know that, well, pessimism tells a better story, what if the manufacturers didn't actually have yours and mine best interests at heart, and instead they were looking to create a financial barrier to entry that ensured them having a captive market that they could milk financially? You see, the EN 1621 regulation actually quietly creates a clean line between motorcycle clothing and everything else on the high street. From a business point of view, it's quite a neat idea, isn't it? Now, before you all jump into the comments and try and call me out on this one and tell me I'm wrong, let me try and evidence how I came to this pessimistic conclusion by looking at if the armour actually works. EN 1621 sets a performance threshold for all CE armour that it needs to meet as a minimum. The CE level 1 pad must absorb 50 joules of impact and transfer no more than 18 kilonewtons of force through to the body. And a level 2 pad brings that down to 9 kilonewtons of force. Now, for all of you lot, I have put references to all of this information down in the description below, so you are able to go away and fact check me. So feel free to do that after you've watched the rest of the video. When you compare those numbers and figures to the breaking threshold of the strongest bone in the human body, which is your femur, your thigh bone, well, that will break when it's exposed to around 4 kilonewtons of force. So when you look at those numbers, you can start seeing how flawed the CE rated armour really is, can't you? Our level 1 standard, the pad that's placed in the majority of jackets sold here in the UK across the country, still transmits more than 4 times the force needed to fracture the strongest bone in yours and in mine's body. The level 2 armour, well, that's the premium stuff that you pay a little bit extra for, will still transmit more than double the force required. You've essentially got a standard that permits a force level that would comfortably snap the thing in your body that it's supposed to be protecting. And that alone raises a fairly obvious follow-up question about, well, why is the standard actually what it is? Why is that bar set so low? Researchers who work in the field have been pretty direct about it. The requirements for CE level armour are massively unambitious, but they reflect what the industry, the gear manufacturers, were willing to support when they were outlining and lobbying for EN 1621, that regulation. The framing around this regulation was always that manufacturers were free to exceed the minimum, but that the minimum needed to be a little bit more than just nothing. And the reality is that in a mass market where, well, price is absolutely everything, there has been almost no incentive to bother manufacturing and researching different materials to do better than the absolute minimum. And unfortunately, there's actually more to this story as well. It doesn't just end there. Even if the performance thresholds of these pads remained questionable, you'd at least want the pads to be big enough to cover the joints that they're sitting over and you're being told that they're protecting. And here, EN 1621 also has something to say about that. It sets a minimum pad size, and this is called the Type B pad. In theory, manufacturers are free to make their pads as big as they want. They can go bigger than Type B, offer more material, offer better coverage of the joints, better protection overall. But again, in practice, more material costs more money. And offering different pad sizes for different size jacket costs even more money for different size pockets on the inside of them. So what tends to happen is that the pad that goes into the small jacket is the same size pad that goes into the extra large jacket, which means if you're a smaller rider, your shoulder pad might actually cover your shoulder. And if you're a larger gentleman, well, that same pad is doing a fairly optimistic job of covering the joint that it's been designed to cover. So let's stack this all up again. We have a regulation that requires armour in every single jacket, and an industry that shaped that regulation and its various different performance levels. The threshold permits force transmissions that, well, are well above what the human bone can withstand. The pads themselves are occasionally undersized relating to the rider wearing them, and the regulation was written with significant input from the people who physically sell and profit from the safety garments themselves. So with all that said, has anyone independent actually gone and checked whether riders wearing this stuff are actually getting hurt less? Well, thankfully, yes, they have, repeatedly. And I'm going to drop links in the description below to all of this research, but right now I'm going to summarise it all for you. Research from 2011 found that body armour reduced bruising and abrasions, but that any benefit specifically relating to fractures and broken bones couldn't be detected. Work from a 2017 study concluded that the permitted force levels may simply be too high to meaningfully reduce impact injuries given what bones can actually take. Then a 2018 study found the same pattern, that surface injuries were down, but there was no measurable effect on fractures, dislocations or sprains. And then as recent as 2019, in another research study carried out, they concluded that the relationship between EN 1621 performance and real-world injury protection remains, and I'm quoting directly here from that one, unclear. So we've had a decade of research that has consistently found that the armour is probably saving your skin from a few bruises and a bit of road rash, in the same way that the outer layer is also doing that, but the evidence is that it just isn't saving your bones in the same way. When a product carries the language and the appearance of a safety standard, we've got the CE mark, the level 1 and level 2 armour, the official looking label stitched into the garment, but then the standards that it's meeting fall well below the protection levels that the language implies, well, that's just safety washing. It's like motorcycle manufacturers in the industry slapping eco-friendly stickers on their bikes, whilst at the same time quietly lobbying against any more emission standards from Europe, like Euro 5 Plus or Euro 6 on the way. The certification is real, but the implications of its meaningful protection, based on everything the research tells us, largely isn't doing its job. Now, I want to be crystal clear here and be very careful about what I'm saying, because this is a genuine safety territory we're stepping into, And I'm not trying to be reckless and make you guys go out there and stop wearing your gear. I am one of the biggest believers in all the gear, all the time. It doesn't matter where I'm riding or how long I'm riding for. I am putting my gear on because the jacket does reduce surface injuries. And I'm telling you guys to please keep wearing your gear. Keep the Armour in there. It's doing something, even if it is just protecting you from surface abrasions. But just remember that in terms of protection, it is the floor, not the ceiling. It is an absolute baseline set by people who had reasons other than your skeleton to consider when manufacturing it. If you really want to ensure that you're giving yourself the maximum ceiling in protection, you want to go and upgrade beyond CE Level 2 armour. Search out things like standalone back protectors. They go well beyond CE ratings and standards. Or invest in something like a really good airbag system. That is the next thing on my shopping list, whether it's tethered or wireless, because they represent a real step change in what rider protection can actually mean for us. They're fantastic, they're here, they're not exotic and futuristic, they literally exist. You can go and buy one from the shop, and I highly recommend doing it. Because they're what 20 years of proper R&D could have delivered across the board if the incentive structure was there and there was a point for the manufacturers to invest in that technology and put it into our jackets as a legal requirement. The armour that comes as standard in your jackets emerged from a system that, with all the best intentions, was never fully aimed at protecting us. But the kit that actually can protect you, like I say, does exist. And knowing the difference between the two different kinds of kit, well, I think that's worth 15 minutes of your time. And that is why I made this video. And, oh, don't forget, affiliate link for someone. My friend Tom started a clothing company. It's called RIP Industries. They're not a motorcycle brand. No CE logos, no branding, no double stitch seams or anything like that. They are just a pure streetwear fashion brand, automotive inspired, coffee inspired, skateboarding inspired. Just some nice, high quality, thick layer garments, like this particular hoodie he designed for me from his brand. It feels oddly appropriate to mention them in this video. So yeah, go check them out. There's an affiliate link in the description below, and you can get 10% off with the code that I'm displaying on the screen right now. So please do go check them out. If you've enjoyed it, please do go check out last week's video. I'll put it up here. I went away and asked the question whether e-bikes are winning the war on motorcycles. And if you're new to my channel, or you're a returning viewer that hasn't yet subscribed, then please do consider doing so by clicking my face down here in this little button. And yes, hopefully I get to see you all next week in the next video.